The old woman replied, "He was picked up last night. He was found lying on the road. Judging by the state of his shoes, it seems he walked a long distance, but where he came from or where he was going, no one knows." The doctor said, "Oh, the same old story." As soon as the doctor left, old Sally set about saving the child's life. For a long time, the infant gasped between life and death. There were no aunts, uncles, or grandmothers to check on him. No good doctor cared to save him either. Yet, despite the neglect and lack of care, the child survived. The only ones to look after him were old Sally, the orphaned woman of the orphanage, and that incompetent doctor. When, despite all the neglect, the child clung to life and didn't succumb to death, the officials of the orphanage were compelled to give him a name. The child's name was recorded as Oliver Twist in the orphanage's records. Since there was no information about his parents, Oliver was kept as an unwanted burden of the orphanage. As the child grew older, he bore the mark of the orphanage. He became one of them, the half-fed, miserable servants who endure beatings and curses to survive, who are despised by all but pitied by none, one of the helpless children of the orphanage. 10 months later, the infant Oliver was sent to another orphanage center 3 miles away. It was a place where small boys caught by the police for breaking the law were kept. There, he would be among 20 to 30 young offenders. The innocent child Oliver would be their companion. At the age of 10 months, little Oliver was sent to a workhouse managed by Mrs. Mon. Mrs. Mon was said to be particularly knowledgeable about how to raise the bodies and minds of young boys and girls in the most efficient manner. The workhouse's main officials were confident in appointing her as the guardian of young delinquents. Mrs. Mon conducted various experiments on these boys, especially focusing on how to keep them alive with the least amount of food and clothing. She had a keen eye for any irregularities among the boys. Not a single boy in her workhouse could truthfully say that he ever got to eat even a crumb more than his allotted portion. For each boy, she received a government allowance of 7.5 pence per week. Worried that overeating might spoil the boys' temperaments, she would save a substantial portion of this meager allowance for herself. Of course, the boys were quite mischievous, so to discredit Mrs. Mon, most of them died of illness and starvation before they grew up. If by some chance any of them survived, they could serve as examples to the world of how little food a person needs to keep living.